All right, so Amber, what is a public matter for this week?
Okay, so we are going to wrap up the cocaine debacle, because that will be now, I think, 3 shows that we've actually discussed this.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the interviews that Tucker Carlson did at, I think it was for Blaze TV.
He did.
With some presidential candidates. And I think he actually, I think for a fact, I know that he squashed one of them dead in the water.
He killed 2 of them.
Well, I think the other one is kind of questionable. Like, maybe that guy can kind of get away because he wasn't such a shit show. But anyway, so we're going to talk about the cocaine, which I don't think will take us too long because there's really nothing there.
Right.
We're not allowed to know what happened or how it happened or who did it or what. So basically we're left with there was cocaine in the White House. And then the story that we're told is... well, they found pot like a year ago. And then I think they found pot 2 years ago, or maybe twice last year. I can't remember that part of the story. But this should be okay because they already found the pot.
And this is, pot. Marijuana is still it's not legal federally, so.
It's not. So it should not be in that building. And then I also read an article that said there has been cocaine in the White House before.
Oh, so it makes it legal.
Well, it makes it okay because, George Bush, I forget if it was George W. Bush or George Bush, it was one of them, had a bag of it so that they could do an interview holding up
Nice.
a bag of cocaine. So technically it isn't the first time that there's been cocaine in the White House, but yeah, it's the first time that they can't figure out whose it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I find it to be funny that they can figure out January 6th and everyone that walked through there, even though that's an actual heavily toured area for like local, your regular Joe Schmo. It's not as secured as the West Side area.
Right.
Or West Wing area, sorry. And, but they can't figure out whose cocaine it is in the cabinet or in the locker that it was in. So someone was saving it for later,
right?
Whatever. So that's my take on it.
Well, let's see. What's it all add up to? So the cocaine was there. We all know it's bullshit, BS that they can't determine who it belongs to. They made a non-story out of it that we talked about last week. Everybody, I guess the point here is just everybody knows that this is a bullshit story. In fact, it's also a dead story. It's already a dead story because of what just happened to Trump there with his new indictment coming down where he's going to get arrested. But we might touch on that later. But this is the problem with this administration, the government anyway, it doesn't matter what administration it would be, is lying to the American public. We know that if there really was cocaine there, for whatever reasons, they haven't determined whose it is a bullshit story. And that's the real issue here. We'll have to take it at face value that cocaine was found and that they cannot determine, so they say, who it belongs to. And we all know that that's a lie.
Well, I mean, the area that it was found in was an extremely secured area. I mean, there's cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
Even in like non-secured areas, there's cameras. So how you mean to tell me they can't look back and see? But yet on January 6th, when people were breaking windows and doing different things, that was something that they could actually figure out and find.
We know it's all bullshit. That's the whole problem with this. We know that there's heavy surveillance in that area. I've never been in there myself, but there's so many people that have talked about the surveillance in there and the security protocols you go through to get in there, whether or not you're on a tour or not. There was no tours taking place that day. And it was in a cubby that you would put your cell phone in.
Right.
So that act would have been seen. Somebody doing that would have been seen doing it.
Right.
So we know that this is bullshit. And you're right. They were able to identify people based on facial recognition at the January 6th insurrection or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So the problem is everybody knows it's a lie. They're lying to the American people, and you know what I find funny about this is I don't see there's a lot of disgust going on. Nobody is disgusted by this. There's no even the people who should be disgusted about it in the media. What's left of Fox News is not even saying anything about it. This is a dead story because something else is taken over for it. Rather than having it as a secondary story now, you're not even hearing about it. The whole thing is awful. And
well, you're not even hearing about it because now there's a Trump story.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Trump is always more and better press than Biden or Hunter or Jill or anything that's happening in the White House, which should tell you something. I mean, our administration that's in the office right now is not a good story, nor do they do almost anything. It doesn't seem like anything is really happening. At least from my perspective.
It's awful.
I've heard that, Biden's economics is actually pretty good. And if it's allowed to work, we should see some results.
Bidenomics, yeah.
Yeah, we should see some results. I mean, all I've seen is that trillions of dollars or billions of dollars has gone to Ukraine, and that's what everyone's worried about.
Well...
So
yeah, it's a non-story. There's really nothing to talk about here except for the fact they're lying, and we know they're lying. So what do you do with that? You write your congressman? No, that's not going to do any good. So you just sit there and suck on it. There's nothing that can be done about this except that visceral. I have a visceral response to it, which it disgusts me, and I probably dwell on it far too much because it's such an open lie that it's an illustration of just what lengths they will go to lie and do things. An administration that would lie about this would be the administration to make up charges against former President Trump.
Yeah.
So, there's not a lot to talk about there, but keep scouring for it. But know that they're lying. They're lying to us, and that should just make you the most disgusted about our government, our administration right now. That this is taking place in this country. This makes us a banana republic all over again. There's so many things. This is just another layer of frosting on it. It's awful. It's disgusting.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the story is we don't know whose it is.
No.
We don't know where it was. And that's the end of it. The end. We're done.
A big story is now a dead story.
Well, I find it funny that we had this whole war on drugs was in the 80s, 90s, I think. And
Just say no.
Right. And it was a huge thing. And this was a very big problem. Mm-hmm. Now we actually have a war on drugs. I mean, people are bringing different drugs into our country by the thousands, hundreds, whatever you want to say, on our borders. Yeah. And yet we have... And then our president's home has cocaine in it, and we're not outraged.
The people's home.
Or we're not offended. We're not... This is okay? This is an acceptable behavior from your congressman, from the person who's supposed to protect and serve the Constitution of your country, and we're okay with it? I mean, it's fine. I mean, okay. That's the end. Yeah,
it's dead. It's not like they're continuing to look. It's closed. They even said it's closed.
Yeah, this case is over.
This is not a continuing case here. This is closed.
Yep. It's a done deal. We don't know. We don't have any answers for you. Goodbye.
Look what's taken place at the White House recently. You had that the Pride event there where you had the trans whatever showing itself out on the lawn. That took place. Then you have cocaine there. This is becoming like a damn ghetto. This is really disgusting. This is the people's house, and this is what represents our country. And this is what's taking place. And then they cap it off with a bald-faced lie to the American people. And the media is not even asking any questions. The disgusting media is not asking any questions at this point. There's no press conferences on it. There's no briefings. It's awful.
Well, I mean, the media is bought and paid for, so we get what we're told.
Yeah.
That's why I'm still surprised that we actually even got this tidbit of information, because I just wonder how we got this information and why we got this information.
I don't know. I don't know what it serves.
I honestly am very, very, very confused. So are we going to see that President Biden is incapable of handling the country, and now Kamala Harris has to step in with her soup sandwich of however she speaks to us as if we're completely, complete idiots. Yeah. I mean, I just saw one that AOC posted where she's talking about AI, and she goes, it's just 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence, as if no one knows what that means. Like,
that's all it means to her.
It's like, you know, and she's trying to explain to you how it works or how she thinks it works. And AOC writes something along the lines of, this is our smart and amazing president. Now, she said president. Why would she say that? Like, that makes me confused as to, I thought Joe Biden was our president with his sister Jill, or wife. I mean, oops, sorry, I couldn't tell you the difference. It's just like, I don't understand. There is something happening that we're missing, and we're missing it on purpose because they don't want us to see what's happening.
It happens all the time. Yeah, this is a cover for a cover for a cover. You have no idea. It's a, what did that guy say in the JFK movie with it's an enigma. It's a riddle wrapped in an enigma or something like that. You know, it's just one of these ongoing things. It's just this constant shuffle game of, you know, attention here, attention there. You don't know what's true or what part of something is true. And this is purely an indication of it. This story is just bullshit.
Well, it's just like, you know, we're about to go into the Tucker Carlson review, so I'm going to bring up something that he said, which still I have a very big quandary about, which makes you wonder. So, we know that some of the information for the Kennedy assassination came up, and then Biden classified or reclassified more information. Now, this is how many years? 60 years?
Yeah.
And every one of those people that was involved in this thing, like Tucker says, is passed away. They're not alive.
Yeah.
So they must be hiding something else. That has to be institutions. That has to be something that we are doing or that has been going on for years, decades.
Absolutely.
So we're not being told the true story of anything. We don't ever get the full story. This is not a constitutional republic. This is starting to be a democracy, which is what we're fighting against. That goes into totalitarianism, which I can't say the word, and the one rule, or like that's not what we are. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic.
Yeah, representative republic. That's correct.
And we need to understand that when people say this is a fight for our democracy, that's not what we're doing. No, that's not what we're doing. No. This is, you are overstepping your bounds. This is not your job. This is not what you're supposed to do.
That's correct.
And here we are listening to these people fight for us. They're not fighting for us. They're fighting against us. And we don't even see that. We're not even aware. So that's my rant for this.
No, that's a good rant because it's true. Everything you said is true.
But now we're going to go into the Tucker Carlson interview, which was hilarious.
Well,
I mean, I've only seen a few snippets.
Well, let's talk about the real thing here. Tucker is the rhino slayer. Definitely is. I'd like to see a meme of that, by the way. You know, but the real shame here was Mike Pence. We'll talk about Mike Pence because the other two really are just, and Nikki Haley just showed herself as being, there's nothing there. She's not bringing anything to the table.
I mean, it really just paved the way for Trump to be the front runner. Yeah, the front runner for the Republican Party. I mean, it really just solidified your view of what is happening. I mean, Republicans have a very big history of not doing anything and waiting, and, you know, we'll see, we'll do, you know, I mean, if you look at past elections or you look at past Republicans who have been in office, it's always, well, wait, just wait. We should do, you know, like, they're not proactive, and that's the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. The Democrats don't give a shit if you are on board or not. A group of them is going to move forward, and that's the end of the story. So I think Tucker Carlson is pointing out that we are just sitting with these candidates that are not doing anything or too scared or are part of the Democratic Party by just saying ridiculous things.
Yeah, by virtue of how they act and what they are really. They're rhinos, Republican in name only, and I'm not a Republican. I'm a conservative, a constitutionalist. But these people aren't even that. They're except for an R next to their name and maybe a handful of votes. They are probably the best ally that the Democrats have in Congress. Nikki Haley, for instance, is known for her votes. On the side of the Democrat initiatives and so forth. And, they all buy into this at some level, this DEI stuff that we're experiencing now.
Right.
But let's get to Mike Pence.
Okay, so.
Did you see that?
Oh, I saw it.
What'd you think of it? What'd you think of it? Because what you thought is what everybody else out there thought.
Okay,
and if you haven't seen it, listen up.
So the first thing is, the first video is pretty, the short snippet reel TikTok is really funny because, Tucker Carlson asks all the right questions, because Mike Pence is going off on the things that America hasn't done for Ukraine. And even though we said we were going to do it, we still haven't done it, blah, 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 whatever. And he's going off about it. And Tucker points out, rightfully so, all of these things that are happening in the United States as we speak, homelessness, inflation, the borders, all of it, like the drugs, anything that you can think of. Tucker asks this question, what is your concerns for the American people? Oh, I don't have any. I'm not concerned. How can you say that you are going to be our president
not
and
my
you're
concern.
not my concern? It's
not my concern. Well, what it was is he gave an honest answer because that's probably the first time he's actually had somebody that asked him a substantive question that he wasn't prepared for.
Right.
He's had softball questions, or previous to that, he's had all, how they have this, it's almost scripted.
Yes, the debates.
So in this case right here, he was caught off guard, and he said something that was very honest. It's not my concern. Well, damn well ought to be your concern, buddy. Again, he's exposing somebody. And again, Tucker is a slayer, and he did it. We'll talk about the other guy here too, Asa Hutchinson. Asa Hutchinson, what a useless guy he is. He's an attorney, businessman, politician, 48th governor of Arkansas. Yada yada yada. But when it comes down to it, he's the same kind of a guy. He was asked, for instance, a number of questions, and he came up with the same hollow answers. So Asa Hutchins again.
Oh, that's the only one I really saw of his, because I didn't see the whole thing. The only one I actually saw was when Tucker asked him about COVID, and he was like, how many COVID shots and boosters did you get after seeing all these things, and everything that's come out and all this stuff that's happened? And he tries to be slick, and he's like, how many did you have? Well, what was Tucker's answer? 0. He had none. He didn't follow the same bullshit and follow the science. Maybe he did follow science and saw that he wasn't going to do it.
But he's still backing the nonsense after all the information that's come out about the vaccines and the mandates. Again, this is a guy that supported the bullshit science, the bullshit mandates.
Yeah.
And again, he was confronted by it. He's not dealing with somebody that's Tucker's a little bit off the beaten path. So he thought he was going to get the generic answer. How many did you have? None. Have you had any?
Oh, I've not had any.
Neither have I. And we're known as purebloods, by the way, and I'm a little bit proud of that. Not proud in the pride kind of proud, but
that's so. I.
How many times did you have COVID? Can I ask?
Oh, you can ask.
How many?
I didn't.
Neither did I. Did you get even cold?
I didn't.
But
I also do. I'm a little bit holistic, so I don't. I try not to take obviously I'll take an antibiotic if I have to get an antibiotic, but I try not to put a lot of drugs into my system. That's not really my way to go. So I was definitely not going to be putting a vaccine that hadn't been tested and that I became the test dummy. It was very obvious to see that I would be the test dummy on this experiment because of how quickly it came out. I think I've said this before. I don't like the speedy FDA approval. I don't even
still not approved.
Right. I don't even like the FDA's approval. I mean, I'm sorry, a lot of things that they approve, come to find out,
like high fructose corn syrup.
That was one. There's quite a few others. There's vaccines that you can't take anymore because they came back and they were like, yeah, so it's actually a problem.
Oh, yeah?
You know? So I'm not... I mean, I feel bad. I actually thought Mike Pence was going to be a decent running mate. Like, I actually thought maybe he had a chance. I was rooting for him. And then, I mean, I have a problem with how much of our military is in other countries that we're not doing diplomatic intervention. We're doing totalitarianism and putting our military there. We're not trying to show them, hey, this works. This is how it works for us.
We're supposed to be protecting our interests.
But what are they doing for us?
Well, this is the thing. How many countries in this world actually tax their people to help the United States in any way, including militarily? It doesn't exist. We're like one of the few countries that actually do this, and we do it to the greatest extent. Your money, my money, all goes to other countries' defense and all this other crap we spend money on. And I'm a bit nationalistic these days, so I don't believe we belong there like you. I don't believe we belong anywhere except inside our damn borders.
Well, at this point, I mean, we are in 130 countries, I think, still. To this day, I think we're still in 130, maybe 120. Mm-hmm. And what are we doing? Like, why are we actually there? How is it benefiting us?
Well, we're not protecting our southern border, so why are we someplace else?
Right. Why are we protecting other borders when we're not even doing it for our own?
We're in our neighbor's yard, but our backyard is getting overrun with illegals. So he Tucker really did a good job on these guys, Nikki Haley, Asa Hutchinson, and Mike Pence. Is the first time any of these people had actually had any of these hard questions asked to them, and I wish there would be more of that. Because here's the thing: when these guys go into these formats, first off, I don't care who you are, but if you're on the conservative side, let's say you're a Republican or Rhino, whatever, you're still you're following the rules set by a liberal agenda. You're setting the rules, and you're obeying just by virtue of that. You're almost losing to start with. So it was good to see Tucker come out there and kind of weed the chaff out and get rid of these low-running people here, and that's what I consider them. They don't have a prayer in hell of getting the nomination anyway. None of them do, including, what I would consider probably the closest one would be DeSantis, and he's not even close in the polls right now.
No.
But that brings us to the front runner, and what's going on with the front runner.
Oh, so Trump. So Trump is, I think Trump announced that he was being investigated.
Yes, he got a target letter.
And he was being...
From a special counsel.
He will probably, which most likely means he definitely will be indicted for January 6th.
Yeah.
Which, how is it that January 6th of, what was that, 2022?
No, it's 2021.
Okay, so it's 3 years old.
Yeah.
This has happened. And yes, it was a very horrible time, and a lot of things happened. But I don't think that it's worse than cocaine in the White House.
Well, first off, it wasn't an insurrection, so they keep throwing that word around. Look it up yourself. I'm not going to go through the meaning of it. It wasn't an insurrection. It wasn't organized. A guy in a Speedo by the name of Jacob Chansley wasn't going to take over the seat of the government in his Viking hat and Speedo. And
Mike, was it Mike? No, it's not. It's Kevin McCarthy was supposed to get us those, all the videos.
Oh, the January 6th. Well, he copped out on that, didn't he?
So that hasn't happened.
No.
So we've got Hunter Biden.
But he said he was going to.
Of course he said it.
But he also said he wasn't going to fund 87,000 IRS agents, and he did. You can't trust him. He's a rhino.
Well, he said that, and we only got the footage. I mean, luckily Tucker got some footage, so we all see that guy was being escorted by the police.
They opened the doors for him.
And he was thanking them.
Yeah.
He was, how is it that he was being rude and nasty because of what he was wearing.
He was sentenced to 41 months for that. He didn't break anything. He entered the grounds, which they said was trespassing. But if there was a bunch of people entering, I'm not so sure if you're going along with the crowd. At what point are you unaware that everybody in front of you hasn't? You're just going along. You don't know what's taking place. You don't know if they were let in or not. So he went in his Speedo and so forth, and he got 41 months. He only served, I think, 16 months out of it. Copped a plea agreement where they let him out, and he did this pathetic apology. Now he wants to recant it. He wants to take back his plea agreement, which will most likely land him back in court for another trial. But I think I know why he wants to do this, because
it will get the footage out.
I don't know if it'll get the footage out. It may get some of it out, but I think what he's trying to do is clear his conscience. And I think here's the other thing: Trump is being charged for part of the insurrection. They want to clobber him with this clause in the 14th Amendment, the insurrection clause, which means if you're convicted of that, you cannot hold public office. And I think that's what they're after him for. So the two things seem to be tied together in some way. But old Jacob there, the QAnon shaman, they call him, is wanting to change his plea agreement so he could get in trouble with that. So let's talk a little more about Mr. Trump. And do you know what the charges are?
No.
Neither do I, but I can tell you what they're saying, and nobody knows for certain, so I don't know how their publications are getting out with this. Maybe some of it's leaked, but I don't think it's official. He's being charged with obstruction of an official proceeding, conspiracy to defraud the government, and incitement of an insurrection.
So the charges of him having classified documents isn't going to stick because there's not enough of them, and because he was president.
I don't know where that is, and I haven't looked back on it, but I can bring that right up because he's got a couple of things here. There's the hush money case, where he paid out that money.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then there's the classified documents thing, and again, it all circles around. For instance, this Jack Smith. He's the one that's pressing the charges as a special prosecutor. So, and what I think they're really doing is, I think the heat is being turned up on the Bidens because of the Hunter Biden issue there, and the payments and the laptop. By the way, I think all those photos have been leaked or released now too from the laptop. So,
oh god,
I don't recommend anybody go and look at them unless you're doing some research and take some nausea pills, because I understand that some of the pictures are pretty bad with his some of his habits with little kids. But I haven't seen it myself, and I won't look. I'm just telling you what I've read so far. But I think the heat's ratcheting up. The pressure it's cooking right now. They need to do this to Trump for several reasons. They need to take the focus off what's going on with this payment to Hunter and the big guy, which is probably Joe Biden. We don't know that, but
the one text message says, "I'm sitting here with my father." So that's pretty obvious that particular inquiry and that particular event has Joe Biden's.
And they do know that at the time of that phone call that he was with his father. They've determined that.
Yeah,
so,
he was on. They took. I thought they took Air Force 2 or whatever. Or
I don't know about that, but he was with him at the time.
Yeah, it was a trip that they took together.
But the heat is being turned up on them, and they need to turn the heat down on themselves. They need to deflect the stories, and they also need to take out the front runner. Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, and he is not my favorite candidate. He's my favorite one of the runners, but he's the only one right now. He's the only one that can become elected. The rest of them they don't stand a damn chance in hell. And they need to take out Trump, and that's why they're doing this. I believe this is exactly the reason why they're doing all these things against Trump. Is because he's also vowed retribution. He said, "I am your retribution." And there's a number of people in this world, including myself, who have fallen on the bad side of the government at least once. And that's just music to people's ears. So he had me at,
I am your retribution.
I am your retribution. He had me. So Anyway, that's our show for this week. Do you want to add anything in?
No,
There's not a lot of substance out there. There's a lot of things going on, but there's not a lot of depth in them right now.
Well, that's because we're a democracy, and we
and we have a lousy media.
What the media gives us, which is
true.
funneled from our democracy that we have.
It's true.
It's not. I mean, George Bush said it best. What did he say? The Constitution is just a piece of paper. I think that's what he said.
The Constitution is just a piece of paper.
And yet these people hold up their hand on a Bible and they say that they swear to abide by the Constitution, yet they don't. So I just have a very big problem with you being a government official that does not follow the Constitution, nor do you care if the Constitution is being followed by the other parties or policies. I mean, how many different agencies do we have that aren't even elected? They're just now making laws.
Remember the ADA, 1946. That's what empowered these agencies.
And I mean, the IRS shouldn't even be a part of what we're doing. I mean, that's an illegal act as well.
FDR right there, that unconstitutional and income tax.
And he actually wrote a letter to the people saying he actually feels that this was one of America's demise, was signing that into law.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we have, the IRS, that's not constitutional. The Federal Reserve Bank is just as federal as FedEx.
Yeah.
Federal Express, which is a mail company, is as federal as our federal bank, who's printing our money.
Yeah.
In which we are paying interest to get money printed. So we are basically shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yeah.
For what reason? What are we getting out of this?
Nothing. You're going to end up owing a lot of debt. But we're short on time. I want to close this out. We're not going to do any quotes today. We're a little short on time. But I do want to say this, because if you're a person that didn't agree with vaccinations and so forth, you're going to love this. This is breaking news. Pfizer pharmaceutical plant in North Carolina has been destroyed by a tornado. Tell me that God is not on our side sometimes. I mean, not that he's not all the time, but I'm just saying it's like, this is sort of, in my mind, it's biblical. I would like to see brimstone fall from the sky and burn this place, but anyway.
Tornado hit it. All right, so we are out, and we will see you next week.
Yes, and we want some comments, please. Please, for the people who are viewing, we want comments. Like, hate, or whatever you want to see or talk about, we want to know. So anyway, thank you for watching.